What's good? Good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is, wherever you are. I wanted to come out real quick before I going back into session, man, and something really hit me um, real hard, right? Real hard in my mind. And my mind started working. I started thinking of nerve damage, okay? Uh, One time I was working at a restaurant, and I'm working with this machine called, or this piece of equipment called a mandolin. Mandolin, if you know anything about it, it's a little piece of equipment that has a razor sharp blade on it, right? And it allows you to cut certain things with precision and with the same size, the same shape, the same thickness rather. So I'm cutting this watermelon radishes, believe what I was cutting, and they come in different shapes. And so I'm just moving, working this machine, right? Working the radish, right? And then what ends up happening is my finger slips, and instead of the radish hitting the blade, my thumb hits it. Like a piece of my thumb hits it, and it cuts like a corner of my thumb off, right? And it is such a fine cut. I'm looking at this, and it's bleeding. Follow me. It's bleeding everywhere, but I don't feel the pain. It's bleeding everywhere, but I don't feel the pain. That was an indication of how deep the cut was, or where the cut was, because what happened was there was some nerve damage. The nerves had been severed to where the signal didn't get to the brain that hey, you're hurting. Yeah. The blood is not the blood is just an indication that you've been cut. But when you're not feeling the pain, but yet and still you're still bleeding, you will continue working, believing that it's not that bad, right? And so what ends up happening, of course, now everything is contaminated. You got to wipe down everything. You got to clean everything. You got to put Band-Aids on and whatnot, so forth and so on. And so what I end up doing is I finished my shift, and then I went to the hospital after I finished my shift. And by the time I had got to the hospital, they told me there was nothing they can do, because I had placed a portion of the skin back on my finger, taped it up, wrapped it up, cleaned it up, and the whole nine. They said, well, the healing process has already begun, so there's nothing we can do but give you a tetanus shot. And so what ended up happening was, as my finger healed, so I think as my finger healed, I could still occasionally feel where I was cut. It has a funny feeling to it because the nerves are starting to reconnect again. Now, how does this relate into life? There are times that you could be cut so deep to where you're bleeding and you don't even know it, because you don't feel the pain of that cut. But what happens is every now and then you'll get a shooting pain from the past that will remind you were cut there. But the question is today, are you willing to heal in that area? See, what happened to me in a lot of areas when it comes to ministry, a lot of times you get cut deep, but you have to ignore the pain that comes with it, because you got to keep pressing, you got to keep pushing. But sometimes you can ignore the pain and forget that you're bleeding. I want to help you today. Stop the bleeding, because when you bleed, you contaminate everything around you, and everything has to be shut down and cleaned up. So when you don't have a feeling, when you're not emotionally attached in the area that you've been hurt, you'll continue working thinking that everything is okay. I pray that this makes sense for somebody today. I know it makes sense, perfect sense to me. But I want you to grow and to continue to grow and to continue to grow. And do not be afraid to address some of the things that cut you. Got it? God bless y'all. Have a good one.